Hello guys, good afternoon, it's your boy Brainsy and welcome to another day of workout grind. Today will be day 49 and the title for this session will be Sleepless Nights. I didn't sleep, no sleep, fuck. Last night I was supposed to sleep early because I did promise myself that I'm going to sleep early. That's what I've been saying for a couple of days already, but apparently my girlfriend and I were just playing Minecraft and it was the best fucking session I've had in Minecraft in a while, and I forgot about the time, and then I forgot that I have responsibilities like a job at 10 a.m. So I didn't get to sleep much because I, we stopped playing at like what 4:30 a.m. and then I woke up at like 10, just enough to do the work thing. Anyways, yeah. Right now I only have like what 3 hours of sleep, so I'm kind of like dizzy. Like I don't know. It feels like my body's tipsy or something. Anyways, I got my energy drink here. I got my smartwatch here, and we're going to do the second set of workouts. Supposedly, yesterday was the bicep workout, but today I've been doing this in a while because I've only been doing biceps once a week and then effort for the chest. Like I said again, we have changed our methods in doing the workout. So now we're gonna do 20 minutes, or was it 20 minutes? No, 15 minutes. 70 minutes just for prep time. So yeah, we're changing it every one set complete. We're gonna stop and do a little bit of a 5 minute cool down thing. And I'm starting to listen to podcasts now. Mm-hmm. Um, this one? I don't know what to say. They're no longer from TED Talk anyway. So, yeah. I haven't been having any progress, so maybe I'll start putting extra weight now in my workouts. Just because. But since this is the first time that I will do my chest workout. I will just stick to. I'll just stick to my current weight. Wish me luck. Oh, also classes will start tomorrow. Yeah, I get to see my classmates again. Yada yada, whatever. Let's see. There you go. Anyways, yeah, enjoy. I'm gonna start working out now. Just play some podcasts. Ah, so good. Mm.
A listener note. This
Oopsie, sorry about that. Yep. Just hold on, okay?
betrayal, revenge, murder. These themes are not new. They're as old as human nature itself. In Greek mythology, Clytemnestra killed her husband, Agamemnon, in a cold-blooded act of vengeance, rooted in betrayal and anger. Agamemnon had committed an unforgivable sin. To ensure favorable winds for his fleet during the Trojan War, he sacrificed their daughter, Iphigenia, to the gods. The pain of losing her child burned within Clytemnestra. Festering over the years, Agamemnon was away at war. But betrayal cuts both ways. While Agamemnon fought for glory in Troy, Clytemnestra found solace and an ally in his cousin, Aegisthus. Together,
Augustus.
they plotted his demise. When Agamemnon returned, triumphant,
Arthur Brooks talks about, happiness is love. And it's
Yeah.
true. It's love, and it's love. It's in
What about Oprah? You describe Oprah as a true identity leader. Why is Oprah a true identity?
There you go.
So a big part of the model is learning to unhook from those, harsh self-judgments and instead bring in some self-compassion. What are kind things we can say to ourselves, kind things we can do for ourselves.
Today, it's great to have Russ Harris on the podcast. Russ is one of Australia's foremost practitioners of acceptance and commitment therapy, a mindfulness-based psychological therapy that aims to help you reduce stress, overcome fear, and find fulfillment. In this wide-ranging episode on mental health, we discuss Russ's happiness trap cards, which include ideas such as your mind is not your enemy, when emotional storms blow up, drop anchor, and urges are like waves. We also cover self-esteem, the experience of being human, and how to set yourself up for success in life. I'm a longtime admirer of Russ Harris, and I'm so glad I was finally able to chat with him on my podcast. So without further ado, I bring you Russ Harris.
Russ Harris, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I just had my 58th birthday yesterday, so I'm recovering from too much cake and sugar and chocolate.
Happy birthday
Oh, thank you.
to the legend himself. You've really made quite a name for yourself and really help a lot of people kind of reclaim their mind in a lot of ways. I feel like everyone feels like they're losing their minds.
Thank you. Yes, I think we all feel that way at times.
Definitely. Because your background is in ACT, is that right?
Like the official
Act.
pronunciation
Act.
is ACT. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
If you call it ACT within earshot of Professor Stephen Hayes, the guy who
Yeah,
actually
he pops out and like the Candyman. Yeah,
don't say it that way.
Yeah.
But ACT is a good abbreviation for the model acceptance and commitment therapy because at the core of it, it's about taking action. It's about doing things that are meaningful and important in life to make your life better.
Yeah, and so that's your training and specialty, but this approach really encompasses so much of human life. And this book, you obviously wrote the bestseller, The Happiness Trap, but this most recent book, The Happiness Trap Cards, although maybe it's not a book, I should say, this collection of cards, The Happiness Trap Cards is it is really all encompassing. I mean, as I'm reading it, I'm like, wow, he's covering from self-esteem to thinking traps to living a life of gratitude. I mean, it's all of mental life.
Yeah, look, it was much harder creating the cards than it was writing the book because when you write a book, you can go into stuff in depth, in detail. You can, spend a whole chapter exploring a concept such as mindfulness or self-compassion. But when you've got a deck of cards, you really got to just distill that down to 2 or 3 paragraphs, or I think the limit was 200 words per card on one
No.
side. Distill a concept and then put a sort of
Wow.
exercise or skill or technique onto the other side. And boy, was it hard. I mean, talk about losing your mind. I really did lose my mind writing that.
Oh, huh. It sounds like it's like a tweet. Everything's a tweet.
Yeah, yeah. I've never been onto the Twitter space. Well, I tell a lie. I was on it for about a month and then I gave up. It was just too stressful.
Oh, just as like an entryway into ACT. Can you just tell people a little bit, like, what are the core like what's the core concept of unhooking? What does that mean? And because you kind of start off the book with that.
Yeah, well, so basically, difficult thoughts and feelings show up for all of us throughout the day, every day. Life is stressful. We all have challenges, and the human mind often interpret things in a way that makes things even more stressful than they need to be. So when I use the term hooked, what I mean is your thoughts and feelings are having a huge impact on you. They're jerking you around. They may pull your attention away from what's important, what's meaningful, so you're no longer focused on what you're doing or no longer engaged in what you're doing. Or they may hook you in other ways, pull you into patterns of behavior that are self-defeating, that make life worse rather than better. Drugs or alcohol, or shouting at people that you love, or procrastinating on important stuff. All of those self-defeating patterns of behavior that we all do to one extent or another. So hooked basically means your thoughts and feelings just having this huge impact on your actions or on your attention, and just kind of pulling you away from what's important, or pulling you into self-defeating patterns.
A lot of this approach is obviously very similar as well to Susan David's idea of emotional agility, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Susan David uses acceptance and commitment therapy. She she acknowledges it at the back of the book, but she doesn't really mention it throughout the book. But yes, her book is absolutely based on the same approach, and we've had her as the guest speaker at the World ACT conference, and she said she didn't kind of reference it throughout the book because she didn't want her book to be filled up with sort of scientific references.
Mhm.
But it's exactly the same approach, actually. And so unhooking skills are a set of skills that you use to take the power and impact out of those difficult thoughts and feelings. It's not about getting rid of them or suppressing them. It's about just kind of having a new way of interacting with them, so they just lose their power. They become like water off a duck's back. They can't jerk you around.
Why did you get so interested in this approach?
Well, it was started from a personal journey. I mean, I graduated as a junior doctor in my 20s, and
Wow.
I was miserable. I was depressed, I was
Mm.
anxious, and I couldn't understand why. I mean, being a doctor, everyone said that was going to make your life brilliant. It's prestige, it's status, it's a meaningful job, it's good money, but I was miserable. And so
Yeah.
I started exploring, why am I so depressed and miserable when I've got everything that society tells us makes you happy. And basically, what happened was, through my own personal therapy and through reading lots of self-help books and doing lots of self-development, I started to become very interested in the psychological aspects of medicine, and lose much interest in the physical side. And so I was working as a GP, family doctor, in Melbourne, Australia. And I found that as a GP, my consultations with my patients were getting longer and longer and longer. And we were talking more and more about the psychological sides of health and less about the physical side. And I
Yeah.
started to realize that I was in the wrong profession. Um,
Fair enough.
so gradually I started retraining as a therapist, and it was my income went down and down and down, because as a therapist you earn much less money as than a doctor. But my but my satisfaction went up and up and up. I found this is what I was really interested in, and this is what fulfilled me, helping people, deal with their psychological health issues and build richer lives. So to cut a long story short, I arrived at ACT through a long journey of trial and error and blind alleys, training in many different models of therapy. And each model, I found some things that I liked and some things that I didn't like, and some things that worked and other things that didn't work. There were all good things in every model, but eventually, when I discovered ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, it just seemed to have everything that I was looking for all in one package, and it was just love at first sight. It was when read the first textbook on that was out at the time. It was like, oh, this is amazing, this is incredible, this is just what I've been trying to do, and it's been a love affair that's lasted for over 20 years now. So it just keeps getting richer and deeper all the time.
I really like it too. How would you describe the difference between ACT and cognitive behavioral therapy, particularly the new crop of it, the mindful cognitive behavioral therapy that my friend Seth Gilhan is kind of spearheading?
Yeah, well, um, I think it's a hard question to answer because cognitive behavioral therapy is evolving all the time, and ACT has massively influenced it. So a lot of stuff from ACT has actually crept into CBT. Traditionally, probably the biggest difference was CBT encouraged you to get into a battle with your thoughts. You'd start analyzing them, whether they're true or false, and challenging and disputing them, and trying to get rid of the negative thoughts and replace them with positive thoughts. Whereas ACT doesn't do that. ACT you acknowledge your thoughts, you recognize that even the most difficult negative thoughts are at some level your mind actually trying to help you. Like when you're worrying a lot, your mind's trying to help you point out things that are dangerous, point out things that you need to take action on. And so I often describe the mind as like an overly helpful friend. Scott, have you ever had one of those
Oh,
overly
yeah.
helpful friends? Yeah.
I called intrusive helping.
Intrusive. I love it. Brilliant. Yeah.
Mhm.
Trying so hard to help become a real nuisance. And that's usually what our mind is doing. So we don't want to get into a battle or a fight with it. We want to kind of acknowledge it's trying to help, but kind of take the power and impact out of those thoughts, learn how to see that they're nothing more or less than words and pictures popping up in our head. We don't have to fight with them. We can just learn to let them flow through us. And so that's probably the biggest difference. Instead of fighting or disputing, we kind of just let the thoughts, float on by like water off a duck's back, really.
Right. And it's not entirely about your cognitive distortions. There's also a great sense of like acting in the world and getting out of your mind, like not overthinking it.
Yeah, there's a lot of emphasis on mindfulness skills, on kind of bringing your attention to what's important, focusing on what's important, engaging in what you're doing, and savoring the potentially enjoyable, pleasurable aspects of what you're doing. But ACT is a bit different to other models in that it doesn't emphasize meditation. Because
Right.
meditation is, let's be honest, for a lot of people, it's very boring and very difficult. So ACT kind of teaches mindfulness through lots of simple, easy to.
We'll tinker with it, we'll toy with it, we'll do enough to kind of tee-hee-hee, and believe me, like I'll doodle just to lighten the topic, I'll throw stupid silly jokes out, I'll keep it irreverent and light because we all have to laugh at the absurdity of it, and then we're going to flip the script pretty fast from what could be dour and morbid, which, I mean, let's be honest, it ultimately sucks. And then, but move that fast into, okay, and so now what do you feel motivated to do with your time so that you don't end up getting to the end and feeling like maybe you didn't do it justice, or that you have those deathbed regrets, which to me is, I think, my biggest fear. I mean, other than spiders.
Today we have Jody Wellman on the show. Jody is an author, executive coach, and an expert on resiliency. In this episode, we discuss her very interesting book, You Only Die Once: How to Make It to the End with No Regrets. The title of the book basically sums up what we discussed in this episode. I really hope this episode inspires you to make the most of what you have and live your life fully and meaningfully. I really adore Jody, and I'm so glad I finally got her on the show. So I now bring you Jody Wellman. Jody Wellman, welcome to the Psychology Podcast.
God, Barry Kaufman. I'm overly thrilled to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to have you here and finally to talk to you. And congratulations on your new book
Thank you.
called You Only Die Once. Very clever. How to Make It to the End with No Regrets.
Mm.
Wow. There's research showing that people's last name correlates with their profession. So like shoemakers tend to be more likely to make shoes.
Uh-huh.
People with the word well in their last name tend to be more likely to become psychologists or coaches. I don't know. Did you always feel like a calling to help with wellness?
What a good question.
And do you also like men? I'm trying to figure out the well men part.
The combo. I just feel grateful that I did not fall for a guy whose last name was Sickman, because that would have been probably not good for my career.
That's true.
Jody Sickman. But I like how you know that obscure research. Only you would know that.
It's true. It's true. Maybe. So I am generally interested. Have you always been interested in death, maybe, like, or wellness? Like, what's the theme that runs through your life?
Well, I would say wellness was the theme that was obvious on the outside because I felt like that was less weird to show. So I spent the first 17 years of my career in the health and wellness field, like running health clubs, and that was the whole other career. And then getting into like leadership development and coaching. So that's all about, and then positive psychology, well-being, raw. But the undercurrent was always this little topic of mortality where it was like, I'm fascinated by, and all I want to do is read about and talk about and then scream it from the mountains, this idea about we're totally going to die and maybe we should get on with living. But that was like not as easy to talk about until I hope I found a way to do it and not turn everybody off. So it was always like the duality between well-being, let's live like we mean it, and then also, because it's going to end.
What do you do with people who can't wait to die? I thought, let's just dive right into the deep end.
I love it. We don't have time to dilly-dally.
Because I feel like that, there's so many people who have your attitude, but what about those who are like, I've had enough of this shit.
I love it. Like an overly positive acceptance towards death. Yeah. Well, they don't come out of the woodwork too much in my world. Like for example, on Instagram, where everybody's just so lovely and happy. Every now and then you get that attitude. Like I put a question out once, like, what age do you want to die? I realized I was totally fishing for the crazies. And most people were honest, like, oh, I think 80 would be a good life. Or the most common answer was like, up until I can no longer look after myself. Only at the end did stuff emerge where there were people that are like, yesterday.
Yeah.
Couldn't I be gone? And so fortunately, I'm not like in any kind of therapeutic space around that. And so it's just, to me, it's sad, interesting.
Like, could even they benefit from reading your book?
Oh, what a good question. My hope would be yes.
Cool.
Because the point of it isn't so much about death, death, death. It's death, death, and then live in all caps.
Right.
And then keep living.
It's helping people live more fully. Right?
Yeah.
Now you have a master's of applied positive psychology from Penn. That's where I first met you.
Yeah.
And you were an assistant instructor, or you still are? You are right now an assistant instructor in the master's program, and you're a trainer in the world-renowned resilience program. Amazing.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of expertise in resilience and wellness, thriving, coaching. You're a certified coach. With 25 years of corporate leadership experience. So like when you coach people, is this idea of carpe diem or memento mori an important central concept in your coaching?
Good cue. Well, the answer is yes, with an asterisk, right? So that would be my agenda. And if I was, I guess as you teach in like your coaching programs, like if I'm coming at it with, let me tell you, here's the curriculum, it would be probably like the worst, shittiest coach in the world. However, while I don't do a lot of one-on-one anymore, it's mostly in groups. And when I was doing it one-on-one, I think maybe I'm attracted to clients and then they would find me because of this spirit of, I want to get on with it. I'm scared. I want more out of my life, but I'm not really sure how. Or I get a sense like, am I squandering my time? So sometimes those were the questions and qualities that would maybe attract people into knowing what I did.
Hmm.
And then I'd be like, well, then let's dive in and go there, rather than them talking about some other topic and me being like, let's talk about the fact that you're temporary. Like I wouldn't spring it on them. You know what I mean? But absolutely thematically, I feel like we can't not go there.
Yeah, I mean, the existential humanistic psychologist Irvin Yalom certainly wrote a lot about this. Did you read Staring into the Sun?
Oh, like just soaked it in.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite books.
Me too.
And he has a whole therapy around it. So why not having a whole coaching around it?
I think that's fair. Yeah, as long as they know they're signing up for it.
That's true. That's true.
It's like, why are we always talking about the Grim Reaper in our sessions? I mean, I love it. I love the idea of it. Yeah.
Well, so what is memento mori?
Old Latin phrase, remember we must die. Doesn't it just stir the cockles of your heart?
Yeah. I mean, I think that at various points in our lives, we have different realizations of that.
Yeah. And what I notice is that most of us intentionally don't, I guess, now that you say that, right? Like,
we often keep it away from our consciousness.
Right. And I don't blame us for doing that. Like, we want to be safe. We want to have a good day, not a totally freaking morbid day. But I think because you've studied this and you've actually been.
I don't know. Some people want a freaking morbid day. I just had a whole episode on the science of morbid curiosity.
Love it. Love him.
Some people love that stuff.
Yeah. I totally get it.
But I know what you mean.
Yeah. For the Gen Pop, we're kind of like, how do I just like scrape by today and have it be okay?
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I find the most kind of sizzly is that, okay, yeah, we want to live with more intention and meaning and feel good about our lives. And funny enough, it's exactly by doing the thing you don't think you want to do. Like, let's scratch the surface and maybe go deeper on the fact that you're a ticking time bomb. And
it's interesting. Yeah. I just tried to interrupt you. No. You're a ticking time bomb. Well, I mean, it's just like, can you enjoy something knowing it's going to come to an end? And then there's some deep philosophical questions there that no one's ever fully answered. But like, would you enjoy something if you knew it would never end? Can you?
My answer is a very aggressive belief in no. So, can I ask first? Like, what do you think? You can lead the witness here, but what do you think?
No, I think that having an ending is what gives something a meaning.
Okay. Yeah. We're singing from the same songbook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That songbook. Sorry.
That same operatic songbook.
Sorry, Mike.
That was like the best part of my day. I love it. That is the tune of We Don't
Memento
Think We
Mori.
Need It. That is it. That's the theme song. The fact that we're finite and when we pay attention to it. So, temporal scarcity is like the psychology science way of putting it, that any resource that is temporary, we value it more. Okay. And we can apply that scarcity heuristic to our lives. And it's only when, for most of us, we pay attention to the fact that, and in my world, I count how many Mondays I have left. So I've got 1,810 as of this week. And if I didn't do that math, I'm like, this is my freaking day job. And I need to do that math, remind myself every Monday and get recentered and go, oh yeah, because I'm taking it for granted.
That's assuming that you'll live to what age?
That gets me to 83 as a woman, average age.
Okay. Yeah. It doesn't seem like a lot when you put it that way.
Right.
Why do you propose that we count our Mondays? Why not our Fridays?
Great question. Okay. If we had, when we had 4,000 Fridays, it all just sounds easy and fun. And I want life to be great and easy and fun, but it doesn't let us reflect enough because this is slam dunk. And Monday, though, in comparison, allows us to do this visceral, like, how do I feel about my week ahead? Am I dreading going and doing the thing I'm supposed to be doing if I'm still working or whatnot? And so it's just this way of looking at, does another week of your life excite you, allure you, depress you? Insert adjective here.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough. And some people have put these posters on their wall that show, and I know that Tim Urban has one.
Yeah, I got one off his Wait But Why site, and it's funny. I gave those to a business group I was leading years ago as the coach for the holiday season. I rolled them all up and put little scrolls on them and gave them out, and strangely, nobody was interested. It was like, thanks for the turnoff.
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah. Well, so people consider this kind of talk kind of a downer a little bit. Yeah. So I mean, in a lot of ways, your whole message is like this is not a downer.
Yeah.
I mean, by the way, this is we're gonna release this episode on Halloween. Can we do that, Mike? I don't know. I'm just saying that out loud, but
We can try.
can we try? Try. But yeah, it might not happen. But anyway, this feels like a very Halloween. So a big point here is that your message is not a downer, right? Right?
Yeah.
Like we need to think about life differently. Death. We need to think about death differently.
Yes. Yes. Thank you for grabbing onto that, because
Yeah.
we'll tinker with it. We'll toy with it. We'll do enough to kind of tee-hee-hee, and believe me, like I'll doodle just to lighten the topic. I'll throw stupid, silly jokes out. I'll keep it irreverent and light because we all have to laugh at the absurdity of it. And then we're going to flip the script pretty fast from what could be dour and morbid, which, I mean, let's be honest, it is. It ultimately sucks. And then, but move that fast into, okay, and so now what do you feel motivated to do with your time so that you don't end up getting to the end and feeling like maybe you didn't do it justice, or that you have those deathbed regrets, which to me is, I think, my biggest fear. I mean, other than spiders.
Oh, well, I don't like spiders. Yes, the whole deathbed regret thing. What are the things that people regret the most on their deathbed?
The biggest thing statistically would be two categories, first and foremost, the way my brain works. I think you'll still two.
Maybe
We've got regrets.
systematizing.
Systematize, yes. Regrets of
You calling me
omission.
autistic?
Regrets of omission and commission, just like our good old fashioned sins. And so we think that we are going to be plagued by the regrets about the stupid decisions we made, the things we did and wished we hadn't. Turns out that stuff we tend to find a way to rationalize, which thank God it's good. So those choices, let's just set them aside because they don't really matter. And now let's focus on the regrets of omission, which are those paths not taken, like the dreams we had for ourselves that we wondered about, like, what if I'd gone to that school, or what if I'd applied for that big job, or what if I'd asked her out, or whatever the thing is that you kind of wonder. And we could have been happy if we'd moved to Phoenix, or I don't know, whatever the thing is you're wondering about. The thing that you're curious, and the thing that you didn't take action on. I call them coulda, shoulda, wouldas. And so
Makes sense.
then they further burrow down, and Dan Pink's work and the American Regret Project and other studies talk about how, many of us will regret things around relational issues, like connection regrets. Like, I wished I hadn't lost touch with so-and-so. Wish I'd kept my relationships up. So that's a big category. And then there would be like foundational regrets. Like, I wished I'd done the work. I wished I'd gone and spent more time in school, or like gotten, a better footing in my job or whatnot. And goals. Like, I wished I had gone for the marathon that I wanted to do, or started my Etsy business and like making pillows, or whatever the thing is that you deign to do.
So really, the unrealization of one's highest potential.
Yeah.
Is that it? Like self-actualization?
I think it is. And it's like, as our friend Irv Yalom says, like the unlived life. And those words, just like every time I say them or write them, they grip me in the right way of like, imagine having that sense of an unlived life. And like, we're not going to reach all of I'm curious what you think about this. Cause like, well, I have an opinion about bucket list too, and I want to hear yours, but like, a list of dreams, a list of notions and things that would be cool to do during our 4,000 Mondays. Yay. We know we're not going to get to do every single thing because, well, time is just not going to allow for it. But the things that matter, like back to the deathbed regret exercise, if you can accurately pinpoint and go, holy crap, like if tonight was the night and I was just like, I was minutes away from perishing, what would I be actually kicking myself that I didn't take action on? What would that be? And so now I have two questions for you. One, can I get is there anything that you would think, I always wanted to do this thing, whether it's a big thing or a tiny little thing or a way of being?
It's a delightful question, and it's a really good thought experiment. My mind tends to always work counter to what normal people would respond to things.
And so therefore I love your anticipated answer.
I just feel like if I knew that this was it, I would want to just crawl up in my bed and read a good book. Like, I think I'd want to maximize my pleasure for the next
12 hours
yeah
or whatnot. Yeah.
and just like mentally prepare for the situation.
Right. Well, part of the exercise, I love your answer, by the way, because
Really?
oh my gosh.
Because I
wanna
feel like
curl
everyone
up
else
in
would
the
be like, I'd start that nonprofit. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's the normal answer that people give. Or I tell that girl I like her. You know, it's like, calm down. Like, I'd rather just meditate for the 2 hours.
Yeah. Well, introverts unite, because I would also be like, how could I get the coziest blanket
yeah.
and get so cozy and just like,
And
well-
maybe snuggle up with someone though.
yeah, maybe a cat. Yeah. No, and I believe there's room for others sometimes. So the exercise, though, is intended, I think, if we're not on our deathbed and we're not doing the exercise, because I like the other thought experiment of like, if you knew, I think that if you had a year to live is still kind of bullshit, because it's not an accurate way to really look at and go, what do I want to do with my life? But that's why I like to pick an obscure number, like 16 years from today, you're done. Because now at least we're kind of sizing it a little more.
Yeah.
But if you did imagine, if you were gone tonight, what would you regret? I call them pregrets, and I know it's a hokey name, but it's this idea about these are regrets in the making, that we're not dead yet. So we still have a chance to get out there. And if you would think, oh man, I always wanted to learn how to speak Spanish, well, go download the app thing. Or if you wanted to go and, you know, start like reading to kids at the library, go do that. Like, there's still time. That's the good news. It's like, you don't have to wait anymore. Why are we waiting?
Yeah. Do you wake up in the morning and be like, I'm alive?
Why? Can I
Holy cow, I'm alive today. Is that you like every day?
It is, although I hope I don't sound like a Disney character when I say that. But I do wake up generally quite ecstatic that I am still
I'm like,
here.
oh shit, I have to do this shit again. I'm joking. That's the contrary, me making that joke.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm glad you appreciate it and you take it the right way. So look, you talk about living a squander-free life. What does that mean?
Oh, I love talking about squanderliciousness or not. And I feel the need to put an asterisk on it too, because when I talk about this sort of mission to live a squander-free life, I think people then go to the extreme and say, okay, if it's the anti-squander life, it means I'm out booking all the trips, I'm at all the restaurants, I'm doing all the things that look good on social media, and I'm already exhausted, even just like naming 4 of them. And no. You know, that's why I talk about living an astonishingly alive life. It's relative to what you want, right? It could involve
That's wonderful.
the glass of wine and a book.
Yeah.
Yay. Or it could involve going out and going to a gala or going on a yacht trip or whatever. And so squandering is when we know that we kind of want to be doing more, but we're either playing it small, if that matters to us, or that we are like literally wasting our time, so that we find that all of a sudden it's like, how did it get to be the end of September? And I have no idea what happened, because all my days were just these monotonous blurs merging into each other. So it's the idea of squandering without being intentional and concrete. It's like, hey, you know what would be cool? How would I feel alive this weekend? Oh, that's one thing I could do. I could browse through that bookstore, or I could go and have brunch with a friend, or whatever the thing is you choose to do. So it's plugging into life rather than letting it kind of carry us down that stream. Because, you know, we could just answer our emails and live a life of doing that. But we haven't really lived. Does that make sense?
It does. I like your way of being. And what was your master's thesis about this topic, right?
Called Memento Mori. Yeah.
And how was it received by your colleagues at MAP?
Yeah. It was received well. In fact, it was through some of the faculty there that I believe that the encouragement was to go for it. Like, I was a little bit fearful as a pleaser, like, I don't want to buck the system of positive psychology. But as we know, positive psychology embraces all of it, the light, the dark, the everything, right? It's about being resilient and making the most of a life that is temporary.
Yeah.
And so fortunately, the idea is like, go explore the idea of death. There's a really warm, friendly place for it in positive psychology and humanistic psychology and existential psychology. I mean, we all play together nicely, right?
We do. Well, who's we?
We in the world of psychology.
Sometimes. Yeah, no, but for sure. Yeah, no, wonderful. I mean, it was such a unique thesis,
Mm.
related a little bit to David Yaden's master's thesis
Tell me more.
that he did at Penn, which was on The Good Death.
I didn't even know about it.
Yeah,
I better go
yeah.
rewrite the whole
We
thing.
should have him. No, stop it. You're funny. Yours is very unique and different, but it just relates. And maybe we can get you a copy of David's thesis. But no, it's a very, like, you are very sui generis. You know, you're very unique. You know, and you know, like,
What was the word you used?
I don't know if I said it right.
I don't know.
One of a kind. You're one of a kind.
Thank you.
Latin for one of a kind.
Oh, wow.
There is a lot of research on languishing, and even your phrases and your phrasing. I mean, you have a unique spin. You're Jody Wellman. Like, when I think of Jody Wellman, I think of something very unique within the space of psychology. So you talk about how to undead our lives, but isn't that really just how do we get out of the languishing state into a state of flourishing?
Yes, and Mr. Improv, I think, the answer is yes. And the mechanism is one that I sometimes lament, but obviously have embraced. So it's yes. And we need the nudge. We need the Grim Reaper to, like, take his scythe and just, like, kind of, like, gently, like, tap you. Like, the way to get out of languishing, whatever we determine, the way to get out of squanderland, or whatever it is that we're doing, is that I have found, and I'll confirmation bias the crap out of finding the research that I need in order to bolster the fact that, yes, we need the negative in order to, sometimes we need that motivational nudge. But, like, most of us are not that motivated or have that much self-initiative to, like, go make our lives full of flourishment. And so we have to actually go, yeah, I've only got this many hours left in your way of wording it. Or I've only got
how many Mondays?
1,810
on
Mondays
average
left.
Yeah.
And so that is the unfortunate, but I think necessary nudge in order to get out of language land.
Amazing. Ryan Holiday talks about this too. Yeah, he wears his Memento Mori medallion all the time on his Instagram posts. You know what I'm talking about?
I do.
Yeah. So there are others talking about this as well, which must feel good to kind of not feel like the sole traveler along this message.
Yeah,
I mean, the Stoics talked a lot about this.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've been inspired by
not just Ryan Holiday, but the
yes,
Stoics.
exactly. Ryan Holiday invented Stoicism.
He thinks he did.
I mean,
I'm joking, Ryan. I'm joking.
Throw him a Stoic coin bone.
He's
I
great.
love it. I love
Ryan's
what he
great.
does. Yes. Yeah. And there have been so many really great thinkers, whether they're philosophers or psychologists from the days of old, a lot of your kind of old, like, role models in the day.
Yeah.
Poets. I mean, literature, like, there's so many things in the humanities we've been fascinated by the fact that we're going to die for as long as we've been alive. And, like, it's high time to continue to use that to our advantage rather than have it be something that we want to avoid. Because most people, would rather head for the hills.
Yeah, but it's like the hills are coming, like you can, there's nowhere to run.
Those hills will kill you.
The Grim Reaper is coming. This is
Amen.
dark.
I love it.
This is
so
dark.
much.
It doesn't matter where you go.
Right.
But some people are trying, like the Jeff Bezos, a big article came out that he's trying to live forever.
Yeah.
He's trying to put all his billions of dollars into living forever.
Yeah. I have
You saw that?
yeah. And same thing with Brian Johnson, like, entrepreneurs
Brian
spending,
Johnson's,
like,
yeah.
kajillions. And
he's
I mean, like,
drinking vampire blood over there.
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever gets you through the night, pal. And back to your original question about, like, do you want to live forever? Like, it does sound a bit to me like torture. It does sound like torture because it's this idea that would we ever really make anything happen? Or that to me actually feels like a recipe for just a squanderous existence. Because it's that, do I really want to go and study that thing in school? You know what? I'll do it in, like, 13,000 more years. Or do I want to go and initiate this relationship with somebody? Yeah, you know what? I'll catch them the next time around in, like, 38,000 years. There's no real impetus. Like, do you feel about the power of a deadline too?
I do. Oh, I work best under deadlines. I'll probably get most of my work done on my deathbed. I'll get my best work done. Yeah,
Your opus.
I'm good with deadlines. Why are habits dangerous? No one says that. Like, you know, you're not going to get like, what's his name on this show? You know,
Yep.
one of these habit guys.
Yeah,
They're all
your
guys.
Duhigg friend.
They're all guys.
And
Do you know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
I do.
Habits. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
What I wasn't thinking of doing. I was thinking of
Clear.
I was thinking of James Clear.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I
He
wanna have a
probably never
cage
thinks about
match.
death. He probably
I
is
know,
just
we-
always thinking
we-
about the next goal. Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Yeah, I have bones to pick. Very, very polite bones to
Yeah.
pick. But I would say habits, I believe, are the recipe for vitality disaster. It's a bold statement, right?
Yeah.
Just came up with it. But I think that when we succumb to habits and routines, just like related, that's when we go through the motions of life. And even those words about going through the motions, like, okay, sometimes that's relieving. Like, I'm not a complete idiot. I recognize that sometimes we need to tune out and not be ever present and ever savoring every moment that we're brushing our teeth. Like, life is complicated. So let's take your chill pill. Like, sometimes that's when a routine will just help pacify us and just get through. Oh, look at you. However, if we want to be happy, what I do believe is that we need to abandon some of those routines where we become, we know this, we become,
We need to
Maybe it's a
be.
balance,
We
not
need to
really
integrate both of these.
integrate.
Some
Okay.
people are too
Right.
happy.
Okay.
They need to chill.
They need to chill. Okay.
Do you know what
Well,
I'm saying?
Well, according to the
I'm
voice,
happy. Are you happy? It's like, shut the fuck up.
but that's the voice you gave me in my morning wake up. Oh, I'm gonna have to recalibrate that voice.
That's
for me.
my general.
It's your general happy.
Yeah.
I know.
For anyone who's above 0.
Right. They need to calm down. Well, the robotinizing, how we become these highly functioning zombies. Yes, we want to function, but most of us could agree that at the end of a week or a month, or maybe even it's a whole freaking year where we're like, I think I just, again, got swept up in the current of life. Like,
Yeah.
do I feel like I'm going to be careful in saying, do I have anything to show for it? Because that also sounds like it's extrinsic. Like,
yeah.
I have to show you on Instagram all the things I did this weekend.
Absolutely.
No,
Yeah.
but it's about breaking up your routine sometimes in the way that works for you to feel more alive. Like, then all this is in service of finding more aliveness. So what it might mean is if you know
Vitality.
if you have the same route you take to work or the same exact workout or the same exact date night or whatever it is, because we just go, we click into these patterns just to be convenient. It's the way we're wired, most of us. What about just shaking it up? You know, throw a wrench in it, not in a way that's going to make you feel anxious. Do you think it's symbolic that our flame is out? Do you think it's dead? I think that you rigged this. You purposely chose.
I've never seen that happen before.
This is perfect.
Have you ever seen that happen before?
Yeah, I think that candle is on its last legs.
Oh.
It's behind you guys.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah, it's
I
good.
think it's actually like this is
It's
practicing
appropriate.
death.
Appropriate.
This is,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So,
appropriate.
Yeah. So be careful of routines. They'll rob you of aliveness, and next thing you know, you're in your grave.
Well, because you invented all this language, like we have dead zones in our life. Like you really like this theme of death.
I've gone a little far.
No, but it's creative. I'm into it.
Okay.
I'm into it. I'm super into weird shit. I
Yep.
love that stuff.
Yep.
So yeah, like you know, I love it. You call it, you know, like you say you need to diagnose the dead zones in your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this I realized too, positive psychology practitioner, former
Yeah.
coach. It's like, yeah, okay, there's a time and a place to identify things in your life that are currently working. Yeah, obviously do more of those things, like, you know, amplify what's good. Yes. Also, I do think it's helpful to really have that sort of diagnosis about like, where have I flatlined in my life? And you know how we have all these domains in life, right? So like there's your career, there's your social life, there is your like personal growth area, fun and recreation, romance, you know, you name it, right? When you are able to kind of look at each section
Yeah.
and diagnose and go, you know, things are generally okay over here. That's fine. Or like, that's kind of, I'm okay to not address that one right now, but whoa, this one, like maybe it's recreation. It's dead on arrival. Like I really need to work on this area. That's the helpful part about awareness, is like really zeroing in, because you can have a general sense of back to languishing, or just a general sense of meh with life,
Right.
where you don't like, I don't know, something's missing, or I think I want something more, or is this all there is, or all the other existential winners. And so sometimes you just have to laser in and be like, oh, if it's recreation, well, then what's the thing you could do? Like pick up a hobby again. What would that look like if you try that this weekend?
Is it okay to just be in moods? Is it okay to have moods of dead? Like, do you always have to feel pressure to like be happy? Like, what if you have a day where you're like, I'm dead today?
Yeah.
Can you ever just allow yourself to just do it?
I think so. I think it's like the human condition of, in fact, I think that's so beautiful about appreciating what the good days, because they're contrasted to the bad days. And
yeah, you don't have to be astonishingly alive every day, right?
No, okay. I feel also that
Sounds
not
exhausting.
only just is it tiring, it is exhausting. It's tiring. It's also unsustainable, even if you kind of think you get there.
Yeah.
So when I talk about like the opposite quadrant and with the work I do of the dead zone, you know, it is being astonishingly alive.
Yeah.
And I think that it's a really big frickin' sandbox, like big area where you could be like any quadrant, right? Like you could be at the top right edge of it, maxing it out. Okay, well, hold on for that ride. Good on you. But like for most of us, we're just going to kind of land over here, and sometimes we're going to dance around the others and like welcome it all, right?
Yes. Yeah. Welcome it all. And yeah, I'm very Buddhist about that for sure. I'm more Buddhist than Stoic. I think
I am too.
But I do see some benefits to Stoicism for sure.
Yeah.
Can we get a zoom in on your tattoo?
Oh,
which is an hourglass.
It's the skull. I don't know how this is going to happen. I could walk up to a camera if you'd like.
Sure, I think it's fine.
Okay. Melissa Nunez. She designed my logo, 4,000 Mondays with the sun setting. And so she did this one as well. And I got this the week that I recorded the audiobook for my book, because I wanted it to forever commemorate it on my skin and remind myself, you're going to die.
Wow. It's just amazing that you have that reminder on your body.
Yeah.
I'm so interested in all this amazing coaching work you do. I've got interest in coaching recently. You know, you say that some of your most motivated clients are those that have had a near-death experience. And I'm really interested in the science of near-death experiences, because Abraham Maslow talks about what's the phrase he used? The second life or something like that. Post-mortem life. He calls it the post-mortem life.
Yeah. I would have learned maybe through your book in Transcend or somewhere else about his heart attack. And he has a quote that, I'd be a better person if I had memorized, but just that it's riveting, right? This idea of like, this river of my life will never be the same. It's so beautiful now. And acknowledging like my life is just not the same now. How could I see like almost how exquisite it is without seeing death and experiencing the almostness of it?
Yeah.
Very broadly paraphrasing Mr. Maslow. So I am also fascinated, and I have envy for people who have had a brush with death. Because like this is the thing I take most serious, and the idea that you can have even more of a sense of that awakening. Like that, I know, who is it? I don't think it was Yalom, but someone else had said the roar of awakening. I just love that phrase. I love the notion of it. And so then I just think, okay, well, what's the next best thing other than, remember that movie Flatliners?
Yes.
From the 80s? We're dating ourselves here. But other than trying to rig death and then come back.
I do remember that. Yeah.
A safer way to do it, I guess, is just to research things they know to be true and maybe try and live from that. And I've just found it fascinating. Like I know a recent guest here on your show was it Mike Gervais on fear of other people's opinions?
Yes.
And that to me is one of the best gifts ever that I try to learn about vicariously from people who've had a brush with death. Because once they've kind of come back from being like,
they have no fucks to give.
Exactly. Like, yeah.
I must have had a near-death experience that I didn't know about, because I have zero fucks to give.
Well, hang on. This is like a newish thing? Because how did you get this?
I used to be a people pleaser.
Yeah, what happened?
I maybe I had something I don't know about.
Well, we need to do some sort of testing. We need to find out, because this.
I think just age. I got to my 40s and I'm like, come on, can't waste my time like this.
Right. Why do I care anymore
Yeah.
about saying yes to that thing or
Yeah.
answering that email?
Will, why should I care about what people think of me who I don't even like? That's what I'm saying.
Well said.
Today I'm done. I'm too tired. My body is like, it's shutting down. It's just not a great combo. I didn't get a decent amount of sleep, and this is the first time I've had chest in like a month, maybe. So apparently the 5 minutes rest time was not enough. Absolutely not enough. But it's good to know that we need a little bit more practice, more leveling out. We could do something about that, right? As a good talk, memento mori. I agree with the fact that routines can be a good thing. It helps you, but sometimes it also drives you to think that you don't really have something in your life. I've saw this post before. It's like a meme. You crave routine when your life when your life is dull, you crave for excitement. When you feel overwhelmed, you crave for routine. It's a cycle. Your routine makes your life monotonous, and when your life feels dull, you want excitement. So you do some crazy highness shit, and then when it gets too much and you get overwhelmed, you look for something that's familiar, a routine. I think the key to life is trying to find a way to balance these emotions out, because as much as we want to try to become rational beings and something that is like the optimal best version of ourselves, we do have the sense of human flaws, maybe, if you want to call it that, and you are responsible in tending to those urges. So yeah, I'm not gonna validate the fact that I do need some excitement with my life, because at some point I did feel like my life has been leading up to nothing, or it feels dull, like super gray. I don't feel nothing at all, type of shit. When I was in a full grind routine, but that was the most stable part of my life, So maybe I'm gonna try to, like, weekends I'm gonna dedicate something that is especially just to break out of my monotonous routine, and then for the rest of the day it's routine. I think that's a decent enough balance. So yeah. I might try putting up the days before I die counter type of shit as well, because I think that's a great reminder that your life is really limited despite the illusion of bountifulness. It does get lower and lower every day, and we all die. So yeah, I think that's a great thing. Ooh. Damn. Anyways, I do. It's a nice topic. I always like podcasts like that. Anyways, thanks for watching. Oh, by the way, I did not sleep because I think I already told you, but played Minecraft with my girlfriend. And then tomorrow I'm gonna go back to class, so I'm gonna wake up early. I have not been able to wake up at 6 a.m. for a long while, so that's a bit concerning. But I always have this thing that when I feel like something is really urgent, or I really have to wake up early, there's this sort of internal alarm in which I feel always paranoid, and then I feel unsettled. And so I'm more awake I'm more attentive to time. Time feels slower. But I think that's also an expense of quality of sleep, because I can't really sleep well. Like, I'm restless. But yeah, at least I don't really have to worry too much about being late if I do feel like it's an important thing to be early, which is great. Anyways, I'm taking too much of your time. It's almost an hour exactly, that hasn't happened for a while. Anyways, I'm just gonna take a bath and I'm gonna do some programming grind later. See you guys. Good to be back.